COVID pandemic has taught us many things, and one of which is the need to focus on all of the people in our teams and their own individual needs, but also it's forced businesses to adapt to new ways of working, including careful consideration into how, when, and where we work. As we're all aware, it requires not only the right technologies and tools to be in place, but also the right leadership skills to support everyone in the organization through this challenging and difficult period.
We know that the landscape has been changing massively, especially accelerated over the last 18 months when it comes to future work. And scarily, as fast as we're approaching change now, this is also likely to be the slowest that we'll experience change for the rest of our lives. There are already 5 generations working side by side in the workforce, with around 50% of the workforce being millennials, and only around 16% wanting to work remote full time. So quite clearly, the future is hybrid. And it's about finding that mix of where, when, and how different groups work. Define how we think about future work as a topic. And so there are 4 parts for us when we think about future work. That's work type, workforce, workplaces and spaces, and the experience of work.
There are 2 well-recognised studies on the impact of automation, and one predicts, probably quite negative, one predicts the eradication of a large number of roles, up to 40%. And the other predicts that the future is much more likely to be one of augmentation of labour and productivity gains within roles. And while it's really hard to predict exactly where we'll end up, we feel that it will likely be the augmentation route, which leads me to my second theme, which is polarization of the workforce. So we predict this augmentation is going to lead to an accelerated hollowing out of the middle of the labour market. So that is that low and high skilled roles are on the rise, while jobs in the middle income range will increasingly decline. So this rise in automation actually creates enormous demand for highly skilled roles, highly paid roles. So while they're all interesting trends around what we think will change in the world of work, what I personally think won't change is that organisations that put their people first will continue to be the most successful. So they're going to be able to attract, motivate, retain and develop great people who will in turn deliver distinctive value for our customers, which translates into long-term returns for shareholders and benefits for communities more broadly.
The point around mental health, very much at the forefront of the team. And we partner with an organisation called the Resilience Project, who have built a fabulous program around which they call GEM, gratitude, empathy and mindfulness, which again, we've pushed across the entire organisation.
And so how have you managed that sort of tension between the desire to be physically there and present and able to sort of work in, let's call it the old ways of working, versus really grasping new virtual and digital techniques?
No, great question. And I think it's like building new muscle. It takes time, and the ways of working and trust between finance and the operational teams we support, again, takes a little while to build. But I think we found a really happy balance now whereby the finance group, the CFO group more broadly, have really focused in on those deep relationships with their stakeholders, and more so than perhaps when you're physically together, when it's a little easier.
And even this week, like I'm having these, you've got to have like a marketing line, right? So cuppa with Kate. So I just have a cup of tea virtually with my people in my team, and we have a chat, not about work, just about life, making sure they're coping. We try and think of, good things we're going to take out of this period, what we're going to look back on and, think about fondly, things like that. So just things to get people talking. And actually my leadership team reaching out to everybody at least once every couple of weeks and checking in and making sure they're okay, because there are people struggling at the moment.
The thing I would add in is, and I didn't talk about it before, but I wonder if we are going to see more of a borderless culture if we start to think about resource and people working remote. There are 3 billion people living in a 3-hour time zone between Sydney and Perth. So is this the opportunity for us to start thinking a bit broader about the topic around skills and availability of talent?